Hi, I'm Lynne Spevak, and I was a former clerk for 2 terms. I then went on to work with state court administration down in Indianapolis, the JTAC division. That was the technology division where we would assist the courts and the trial courts with new technology of doing traffic tickets online, where all they needed was internet access. We provided internet access to probably 200 courts and court staff. We also were able to do protective orders online, which the police departments were able to get that piece of paper immediately right after the courts, the judge signed that order. I'd like to get back into the clerk's office just to the fact that the technology from the state is coming at a dramatic speed, and I would like to see some of that happen. When I left the clerk's office, we were still pretty much manual.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on tonight and for everyone for being here as well. My name is Keith Harris. I am the Republican candidate for the Porte County Clerk. I have nearly 30 years of management experience, the last 10 of which have been as the owner of my own technology-based business, Custom PC Technology. It is all of that experience combined that I want to bring to the clerk's office in order to increase the functionality, the efficiency, and the effectiveness of the office. Thank you.
The first question goes to the candidates for clerk. What will you do with current employees and the chief deputy? Yeah.
Current employees, right now there's so much money given from the county council as a budget. I don't see any reason why that should be explained or anything in the future. I don't know. I have a whole year. If whoever wins has a whole year to wait. So I don't know. Technology could come in from the state court administration next year. They might say you might have to eliminate 5 jobs. I don't know. I don't know if the report would be that far advanced by that time. Chief deputy, there's a position, money available. So it's really not a question to be asked, I guess, right now. Because a whole year is a lot to be asking.
Mr. Harris, do you want to respond?
Well, I can certainly agree that there could be extreme circumstances that could determine what's going to happen with employees a full year from now. But basically speaking, I would have no intention of doing anything with the current employees, provided they're all doing their jobs and doing the jobs the way they're supposed to be. I would have absolutely no intention of removing anyone. As far as chief deputy goes, my intent would be to keep Betty Conroy, the current clerk, as my chief deputy.
What makes you more qualified than your opponent? Please give specific examples of your qualifications.
Well, certainly, as my opponent has stated, she has served 2 terms as clerk over the past 12 years. But my background in technology is where I believe the clerk's office is going to go. The future is rooted in technology. It just has to be. I have the knowledge, the background to help make that happen. I can control that technology instead of being controlled by it. Processes will certainly change when technology comes into play. And again, I have 10 years of experience changing processes from a non-technology event to a technology event.
Okay, the current court system is called Gavel, which is approved by the state court administration. It's been running in the clerk's office since 1995. I have the whole knowledge of the bookkeeping system of that, plus the court side of it on making entries and processing a docket sheet. The child support system is another state system that you can't change. It comes from the state. I have knowledge of the bookkeeping side of that, plus able to enter a new case into that. When I was working with JTAC and their system that they're going to try and come out with statewide, I also was in the development of choosing that system from Texas when I worked for the state for the 2 years. So I believe I have multiple qualifications to run any system in the clerk's office.
What do you foresee as the future for voting machines and the voting process?
Okay, the feds can't change anything until 2010. When I was working with Todd Rikita on the State Election Commission, I was also with the Federal Election Commission with Washington, D.C. They can't change nothing to 2010 after the census. So right now, microvote is who the commissioners chose with Mr. Beeler as a elected official at the time, but not a sworn-in official. They chose microvote. That was not the choice of the election board at the time. We have to stay with that until at least 2011, unless the state of Indiana chooses to have microvote go out of business and have all counties that use them, approximately 60 out of the 92 counties. So right now, with the election, we can't change nothing. We're with microvote, and that's the system we have.
I will agree that it is several years before we could actually change systems, but it doesn't mean that we can't advance voting technology. There have been a number of counties that have been test counties in the past couple of elections in regards to voting centers, and I could I could see LaPorte County going to voting centers to make voting instead of. We have this early voting process right now that I personally do not agree with. If we had voting centers, I would say that early voting would not be necessary because you wouldn't be limited to your own precinct to cast a vote. And that's where I really believe where the move will go.
If elected, what is your first priority upon taking office?
First thing I would do is meet with the two new judges that we know will be coming in with Superior 3 and Superior 2. With the retiring judges this year. They were already hold office for a whole year prior to the next clerk. That'd be the first thing that I would do is make sure I meet with the judges, see what their staff is doing, if there's any changes to the clerk staff that they would make a suggestion that they had seen throughout the year that they would suggest possibly changes on who's doing what or something like that. So main thing would be is to work with the judges and their staff.
Mr. Harris?
I think the first thing I would do would probably be to look at the staff, and I'm sure that everybody knows what they're doing, but I think that we need to look at it in conjunction with the judges and make sure that the right methods are being used to get the job done. And beyond that, the priority has to be technology. Once again, thank you for everyone for coming out tonight. I guess the question needs to be, who do you think can take the technology of the clerk's office into the future, because that's where the office needs to be. It needs to go. I have the background, the management background, the technology background that provides me with the ability to make these strong decisions that will need to be made to take the office into the future. It's kind of behind the times a little bit right now, and we need drastically to move it into the future, and I believe I'm the person that can do that. So I'd appreciate your consideration on November 4th. Thank you.
Lynne Spevak?
Previously, dealing with the League of Women's Voters, they were always coming in right before the election saying, we're going to be poll watchers, and I'm thinking, poll watchers? I'm like, uh-oh, which race is contestable that they're going to put poll watchers out there? And so I'm happy that there's women out there that will watch the elections. We always think this early voting has fraud to it, which it might not, which it might, and possibly in another county it might. But LaPorte County has always been clean. I always, when I'm running the elections, it's always been a clean election. We've had recounts where the votes would be two votes apart, where we do a recount. So I'm happy for the league to be involved with elections. As far as the clerk's office, I still will be a hands-on clerk. I'll be able to sit down at a desk, and if someone's gone for a week or on medical leave or something, I'd be able to sit down and help process the paperwork.